Okay, so real quick recap of osmosis and diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of any particular material, anything at all, that moves from high concentration to low concentration. It's a natural process. It's the way the normal molecules in the universe work, right? And it just makes sense. If you have a lot of things in one small area, molecules are always moving, they're always in motion, they're going to bounce and hit each other. Where they're tightly packed, they're going to bounce apart and spread out to other areas. Yes, they're certainly going to bounce with other things around it, but the net result is that everything gets mixed up if everything keeps bouncing eventually. So you're always going to move from high concentrations to low concentrations until you reach equilibrium, where everything is moving randomly in the same space at the same rate to different areas at the same time. Okay, so osmosis is the movement of only water. Okay, so it's, again, water will move from high concentration to low concentration, but the thing to understand is it's always the movement through a semi-permeable membrane. These kind of rectangular things I try to draw with my mouse are beakers, and so this blue line represents the water salt solution in each of the three beakers. I drew the concentrations of water inside the cell and outside the cell in blue in each of the drawings, inside and outside, inside and outside. And I also drew the concentrations of solute. This solute typically is salt or sugar. Could it be other things? Absolutely. The key here is that the salt will not go through the membrane, but the water will. Okay? And it's that reason that causes this concentration difference. Otherwise, you might have salt moving at the same rate as well, and you wouldn't have this net diffusion of water because everything would be moving at the same time, back and forth. So, but because this can't get through the membrane, and this lower amount can't get through the membrane, it creates different concentrations of water. Again, percentages are out of 100. You must always equal 100%. And so once you establish the percentages, all you have to look at where it's higher and where it's lower. So in this case, I'm looking at 75% water outside the cell and 25% water inside the cell. And it means that the net flow of water will be into the cell, okay? And this will cause the cell to get bigger. It will swell, all right? And this, when you're talking about the type of solution that it is, if you have a little bit of solute, meaning less solute in your solution than inside the cell, it's considered hypotonic, right? Doesn't have a lot. Hypo is a prefix that means lacking, so it's lacking the solute, okay? And again, that's lacking is in relative to what the concentration is inside the cell that's in the solution. In this case, I have 55% water inside my cell and only 45% outside. Therefore, my water will move out of the cell. It will cause the cell to shrivel or shrink because the water will leave. And then that empty space will kind of cause the cell membrane to collapse. And so this is and now if I look at the solute, there's more solute outside the cell than inside. And the prefix that means more of something is hyper. And I like to try to think of this as your energy level. When you're hyper, usually people will say that, oh, I had a candy bar. Oh, I had a sugary drink. I'm very hyper because of the sugar. And that means you have a lot of sugar in your body at the moment. So a hypertonic solution, when there's more solute in the solution relative to what's inside the cell, these yellow numbers. And when solutions are equal, when concentrations are equal inside and outside the cell, we're in a state of an isotonic solution. And in this state, the water will still move, but it moves at the same rate, okay? And so that same rate of movement inward and outward, inside and outside the cell, creates this kind of situation where you get the arrows going back and forth, and the cell stays the same, doesn't swell, doesn't shrink, relatively stays the same size. I tried to draw that exactly the same. I did my best, but anyway, that's what we've got. So that's diffusion and osmosis.